This conference will now be recorded.
Yeah, good morning all. We'll start the session now. So we'll discuss about identity and access management. Okay, IAM stands for Identity and Access Management. Okay, there are two things to identity and access management. Number one thing is identity. Identity is different. Access management is different. So identity is anything that can be authenticated. It can be a username, password, or it can be your fingerprint. It can be your eyelid, or it can be your palm print, or like there are many things that you can use for authenticating. Okay, so anything that could be authenticated is identity. Okay, examples are username, password, fingerprint, one-time password. Okay, so these are all some examples of identity. So when you talk about access management, okay, so this is something like if you have username and password, that doesn't mean you can go and do everything on a particular server or an application. So there are some restrictions or role-based access control. So different people with different levels of experience will be part of different level team. Okay, so there will be L1 team, L2 team, and there might be different levels of team. Based on that, there will be role-based access control. So based on their role, if they are a database administrator, they will have full access on database on that server. If they are part of server administrator, they will have full access to the server. So there are two important things: authentication and authorization. Okay, authentication is different, authorization is different. So authentication means if you are able to log into a system, the process of establishing the identity of a person or service to access a resource is called authentication. So it will just ask for security principle, either username, password, or any legitimate credential. It will allow you to log in. Okay, that is authentication process. So this checks whether the user is who they say they are. Okay, it is just straightforward. Authorization is the next step where it establishes the user's identity and then it verifies what level of access they have. Okay, what level of access an authenticated person or service has got. So authentication, it verifies who you are. Okay, and then authorization establishes what they can do with the access or with what they can do actually. So there are two levels actually, who you are and what they can do. So authentication and authorization, they both work hand in hand. Okay, so the next couple of hours we'll be discussing on identity and access management. Okay, so this is one of the important element that you will definitely deal with because you are going to be part of the biometric team, and definitely identity and access management plays a very important role. So identity is anything that could be authenticated, and traditionally protecting access to the systems and data involved on-premises network parameters, right? So people used to bring their own device, and nowadays the data is getting scattered everywhere. Okay, people are getting access to data from their mobile, from their laptop, desktop, at their home, from different locations outside of office premises. 10 years back, you cannot go and access any data outside of the corporate network. Now data can be accessed from many different devices, mobile application, desktop application, their own desktop, official desktop. So there has to be a lot of scrutiny, or there has to be a lot of ways to protect the corporate's important critical information. So now the access points are outside the company's network. So identity has become the new primary security boundary. Okay, so now everyone is logging in from everywhere. So which means without identity, you cannot restrict access to the data. Earlier, it was not the case. Earlier, everyone has to reach the office. They have to get inside the corporate network to access the data. Now, everyone can access the data from anywhere. So things are getting into the public internet. Things are getting hosted on public cloud. So security boundary, now identity is the primary security boundary. Sometime back it was not the case. Okay, so there are two things. Okay, so authentication, authorization, these are the two fundamental concepts that you need to understand when you're talking about identity and access management. So authentication is something which is very closer to identity. Authorization is something close to access management. These are the two different conceptual elements that make up the identity and access management. Okay, the very first thing, it challenges you what kind of username, password, and then based on the security principle you enter, it will allow you to log in, and you can go and control the system. The second part is authorization, access management. Okay, it specifies what they are allowed to access or what they can do with that particular level of access. So what kind of application they can access. So this is after the authentication. Okay, after authentication, what they are authorized to do. So as John was highlighting, there are multiple factors of authentication or two-factor authentication, multi-factor authentication. So we'll just discuss about that shortly. Okay, MFA or 2FA or passwordless. There are different categories. Okay, two-factor authentication or passwordless authentication, all these things. So here, when I say multiple factor authentication, nowadays there are three categories: something you know, something you possess, something you are. Okay, so these are the three levels of authentication. Now most of the mobile devices or most of the laptops are being asked for. See, for example, something you know, what you know the username and password for your credentials, right? This is something you know. Actually, what is something you possess? This might be a mobile phone or a mobile app, or it can be a desktop or laptop with credential. It can be a one-time token or one-time password or whatever it is. Okay, this is something you have in hand. Without your mobile, you cannot log into your banking system, or you cannot log into any of the system. So you need to know both username and password, and also something you possess in your hand. Without your mobile receiving the SMS or token, you cannot log in. The third thing is something you are. This is maybe your biometric property, like your fingerprint or like your face scan or anything. Like nowadays, you know, right? Whenever you are logging into your laptop, nowadays you can log in with your username and password. You can also log in with your thumbprint. You can log in with your biometric. So there are a lot of different things. So this is where you are currently dealing with. Corporate is advancing towards something which is more closer to human and more secure actually. So something you know can be hacked, something you possess can be easily hacked, because like the mobile can be stolen and then the username password can be easily hacked. But then something you are is what the way forward. So that is where you guys are going to work on to establish for the organization. So example, it can be a code in your mobile phone or phone print or see, these are all something the user is actually, right? So I'll tell you. So this is something the user knows. Okay, you know the username and password. This is something the user has in the hand. Okay, this is something the user is. Okay, so there are three different things. With multi-factor authentication, an attacker or someone who is trying to pretend like you, even though they might have the username and password, even though they might possess their mobile phone or your mobile phone, but still without your fingerprint or without your biometric, they cannot fully authenticate. They cannot fully authenticate. Okay, so username and password can be stolen and mobile phones can be stolen. So these things like it is very important. Okay, so these are the three things which you need to understand. Nowadays organizations are looking for all three levels of authentication: something you know, something you possess, something you are. They want to have at least three factors of authentication. So all these things are validating who you are. So authentication is who, and authorization is what they can do with the credential. Okay, so let's understand a little bit more around these concepts in AWS. AWS they offer a service called IAM. So it is again it's a identity as a service. So you don't have to go and set up your password management system, or you don't have to set up your identity management system. So it is the center of the AWS. Okay, with IAM, everything works around. All the products and services gets authenticated. You cannot do a lot of things without the center point of thing, right? So AWS IAM is the center of AWS, where everything is getting authenticated, where securely you can manage access to the AWS resources and services. And again, like your S3, AWS IAM is a global service. So once you log in, you can go and access any region, any services, and it's not for a specific region or specific data center. So you can go and log into identity and access management, and you can be able to access all the different locations. Okay, let's go and see that in the graphical console. Okay, if you go to in your IAM in AWS. So this is mainly to manage access for AWS resources. So it gives you option to filter who can access and who cannot access. Okay, so AWS IAM is identity as a service solution, identity as a service, and again it is a global service. And I would say it is the center of AWS. Without this, nothing can be worked. So this is the one which helps you to securely manage access to AWS resources and services. Okay, let's go here. And then once after I open this, it gives me a lot of options on the left. Okay, you can have the option to go and create users, groups, service account or service principal, and roles and so on. So we'll go and explore all these things. Okay, there are see, this is like they are talking as AWS IAM Identity Center. Okay, so this is the single sign-on successor. Okay, you can go and manage your current identity or current directory, and also you can manage different services across your AWS applications. Okay, so this is something which is coming up. Okay, so you can go to Identity Center, IAM Identity Center. This is an improved service, but then let's talk about the IAM first, and then we'll talk about the IAM Identity Center. Okay, so this is a new service which is after single sign-on. Okay, single sign-on, as John was giving an example. So if you log in with your Google ID, you will be able to log into a lot of different services, right? Google Mail, Google Drive, your any Google services, you are able to log in with one single sign-on. You don't have to log in again and again to access any of the other services. Similarly, if you log in with your IAM credential in AWS, you don't have to enter your credentials again and again to access different products and services. So once you log in, you are going and creating EC2, S3 storage service. You are doing a lot of different things. Okay, so that is the single sign-on concept, and this is a built-in identity center. Okay, where you can access application, account, product, services, everything. Okay, so if you go to the dashboard here, you can see one view on users, roles, policies, and so on. So now the very first thing is the user here. Okay, so if you want to create a user, you can just go and say add user here, and then you can go and create a user. Okay, for example, if I want to create something like Samim, I can just go and create this identity. There are two type of AWS access type. Okay, so this is something you need to understand. Okay, so the first one is the regular programmatic access or access key method. Okay, so if you want to access AWS from another application or through API or through a third-party application, then you need to use the programmatic access. Programmatic access, you need to give access key ID and then secret access key. So these are the two combination that you will have to enter when you go and log into AWS from an application. Okay, I'll show you an example on how this works. And the next example is password. Okay, password based method. This is directly logging into AWS management console. This is username and password method. Okay, so there are two methods actually. One is the username and password, and the other one is management console. Just a second. Guys, okay, so there are two ways you can access AWS and its resources. One is through the program and the other one is through the management console. So management console access, so this is something you are already doing it, right? You are logging into console.aws.amazon.com and you are giving your credential, username and password, and you are able to access it. So this is the management console access, whereas the second option is the programmatic access. Okay, so there are two ways you can access AWS. So let's go and create an account, and then I'll show you how to use both of them. Okay, you can also generate a password, or you can also create a custom password for the console. Okay, either you can auto generate it, because sometimes the complexity requirements are high, so you cannot go and enter the password. Sometimes you can get it auto generated, or you can also give your own custom password. Okay, so It depends on the complexity. If the complexity is high, then you can go and auto-generate it. If the complexity is very low, you can leave it. So you can also ask the user to reset their password when they log in the first time. This is a best practice because your password, which is the default one should always has to be changed. Okay, so you have to enable this option in real time. Okay, so this is the general best practice to have it enabled. Okay, so next, and here if I want Shamim to access different services, or if I want him to be part of a specific group. So when I say group can be a support group, for example operations team, administration team, or database administration team, VMware team, Wintel team. So there might be many teams like IAM team and so on. So if you want to create a group for a specific purpose, you can also go and create a specific purpose, or you can also set a permission boundary, like what they can access and what they cannot access. Okay, so here I'm going to if I want to create a group, I can also create a group. I will say Shamim belongs to maybe precision group. Okay, and I'll give him full administrator access. Okay, let's say create group. So what I'm doing now, I'm creating a user. Also, I'm adding him to a particular group where he has got full administrator access. I can also limit the access. I'll also create one more account to show you how to limit the access. You can also go and add a lot of tags to identify which department he belongs to and what level of things he can do. So you can go and download the CSV file where you can find the access key, secret access key, password. You can also send an email instruction to Samim or the user to log in and access into the console. See, if you look at here, after I have created users groups, it is giving me a separate AWS management console. Okay, unlike my regular console looks like console.aws.amazon.com. But then the console that I've got now, it's little different. So it has got AWS and Stan, and also it is saying sign into this particular corporation or sign into this particular company. So this is how you will get a link when you log into a specific corporate network. So if I, for example, if I just go and open an incognito window, I can just go and enter that particular AWS and stan.signin.aws.com. It will ask for credential. So far, you might have been logging in with root user, but now Samim is not a root user. Okay, instead he is a kind of account that I have created. Okay, I can just go and have that credentials with me. I'll just copy this and I'll have it noted in a document here. Okay, so Samim is the username. Okay, this is my access key. This is my secret access key. Okay, and this is my password. Okay, so now I can just go and log in with the username and credential combination here. Okay, now I have logged in with user account Samim at AWS and stan.com. See, now you can see on the topmost right, you are seeing the user at this particular company or but this particular account. So he can go and do all the different things. He can see the account ID. He can go and create services. He can go to the console and start doing everything because he is also having exactly equal privileges like what I have got because he is also an administrator now. Okay, so this is how you can create one account and you can go and allow others to work on your account so that they can also practice and you all get equal access. So how do I restrict specific user for specific access? For example, if I log into Shamim account and if I'm opening EC2 or whatever, he gets to see everything. Okay, he can go and see what exactly it is there and what kind of security groups we have. So there is no error for him because he is an administrator. But I'm just going to create one more account with limited privileges. For example, let's go to screen number 1 here. Okay, or let's close this. Okay, now I'll just create another account and I'll call this account as maybe Peter. Okay, and then I'll give him password access. Okay, let me scroll down. and I don't want him to change the password. So now I'm going to add him to a specific restricted access. Okay, so let me do one thing. I'll create a group. Okay, I'll say this is storage admin. Okay, here I'll just go and give access only to S3 full access. I'll give him full access to EFS. Okay, or maybe I'll say Glacier. Okay, I'm just giving limited access for him to only work on specific services. He's a storage admin and he should have only access to these two storage related services. Okay, I'm just adding him to a member of storage admin so that he can only perform activities in AWS storage. He cannot go and do anything on AWS compute, or he cannot do anything on any other services. Now I'll show you how to log in with this account, and then you'll get to understand what exactly is happening around. Okay, let me just do that. Okay, let me log out with from this account. Okay, I'll log back in, and then now I'll give the credentials of Peter actually. See, you can log into any account with two different options. You can give the 12-digit number or the account alias. Where I can find that? If I go here, this is my alias name, AWS and Stan, and this is my account ID. You can use the account ID, 12-digit account ID, or I can use the AWS and Stan. Both of them you can use. Okay, let me sign in now. So I'm able to log in with Peter account. But now this is where you'll see different. Okay, if I open up EC2, he will not have access. It will give, it will say permission issue. See, he is having API error here because he doesn't have access to EC2 or any other services other than Glacier and S3. So Peter can only log into AWS and manage only storage related things. So whatever he is trying to access here, he will not be able to see anything. So it will say he is not authorized to perform this operation because he is not a person server admin, or he is only specifically a storage admin. So if I go to S3, he will be able to go and create S3 bucket. He will be able to go and create what do you call Glacier storage or vault, and a lot of other things. So now you can see that he is able to see the bucket here. See, I'm able to see it. I'm able to do everything. I'm able to upload files, and he is able to have full access here. Okay, so this is the way you generally create users with specific privileges. So how do we generally do it? So in an organization, they have something called role-based access control. In order to define the role-based access control, or RBAC, they go and create something called RACI matrix, or RACI matrix. Okay, so not matrix, it's matrix. Okay, so this is something which every organization will have in their thing. See, for example, who is supposed to manage storage? Okay, is it storage team is responsible, or who exactly is responsible, and who should be accountable, or who should be consulted, who should be informed? So they will have a matrix, and based on this matrix, they will go and create role, create users, and then assign permissions to them. Okay, so this RACI matrix is a very important matrix which every organization will have. So even though you belong to the same organization, different people will be having different level of access and different level of privileges to do what they want to do. Okay, so this is what the primary basics. I'll show you an example on how to use the secret access key or access key ID. Okay, I'll show you that quickly. So if I'll log into one of the server here. Just a second. Just a second. I'm just going to create a server, and then I'll log in there and then show you how to use the access key ID and secret access key. Okay, let me log in. Let me share my screen again. Okay, I'm logging into one of the machine and I'll show you the correct example here. Okay, see, once after I log in, so last time when you are all practicing services, I think you all created IS3 and other services during the lab exercise, right? Now, see, if I want to access the same S3 from application or from programmatically, what I can do is I can just go and use some third-party tool. Okay, so like S3 browser or see, there are many tools that can help you to log into multiple different cloud storage. For example, if I go to Cloudberry or different tool, this Cloudberry Explorer is available for different services for Amazon S3, for Azure, for Google Drive. So it is available for multiple different applications or multiple different cloud storage. So you can log into the Cloudberry application and you can copy the application content from one particular cloud storage to another cloud storage very quickly. Okay, so there are tools like that, but I'll first show you how to use the Amazon S3 browser. Okay, it is a freeware, you can use it, and it gives you a lot of benefits also. Okay, let me install it and then I'll show you how to work with that. Okay, when you are trying to access AWS related services from an application or programmatically, so programmatically means from one application to another application. Okay, so I've just installed it. It takes only a couple of minutes. So if I try to log in, now it will ask me for credentials like access key and secret access key. It will not ask for username and password. Okay, suppose if I want to log in with my account, AWS and Stan. Okay, you can give any user this. It's a friendly name. You can do anything. So you can connect to Amazon S3 in China, or you can connect to Amazon SSO. But I'm just going to show you how to use the access key and secret access key. Okay, so if I go here, we have that credential, right? So I'll copy that access key ID from here. So whenever you create an account, you have two options: programmatic access option, and you have the console option. Okay, so here, okay, let me add this account. Okay, now you can see it is able to access my precision test bucket. So it is like you can access all the bucket in my account. It can be in any region. See, suppose if I'm creating a new bucket here, it will go and create a new bucket. I'll just say precision test bucket 002. I can create it in any region. Okay, I can create it in Ohio or I can create it in North Virginia. So I can create it anywhere. See, it has created it. Even I can go and show you in AWS. So here in AWS bucket, if I refresh it now, it will come up. See, it has created it. So this one has been created in Ohio and this has been created in Mumbai. Even I can do the same from here. So you can do it in programmatically from third-party application. There are hundreds of applications. Now it is getting created in Tokyo region. I can create a bucket. So it should be available immediately. Okay, so the advantages of going here is you have a lot of tools like compression, encryption, server-side encryption. You can also have bucket sharing option. You can also integrate with CloudFront Manager. You also have folder sync tool. You can also synchronize one folder with another folder in another account. So there are a lot of good options in these third-party tools here. Okay, you can go and create a new folder. Okay, if I want to create a new folder, I can just go and say create new folder, and then I can say Hitesh or whatever I want to create. I can create home folders, and then I'll be able to see it. If I just go here, I can see that I should be able to see that folder here. Okay, not this one, 001. You can see it here, right? So this is how you generally programmatically access any services in AWS. Okay, when you want to access it programmatically, you should use access key ID and secret access key. These are the two things you have to use when you are accessing it from directly the console. You have to use the username and password. So those are the two methods that you should be aware of. Okay, so for example, if you want to connect from one application to AWS to access some resources, then you have to enter in the access key and secret access key. You should not give the username and password. If you give the username and password, it will be very less secure. So even if you change the username and password, it will create a lot of issues in your account. Okay, so there are a lot of other things which you can do. For example, currently I'm logging into the user account without any restriction or without any what do you call, let me show you this, without any additional authentication. So if I want to ask one of the user to as have mandatory multi-factor authentication, I can go and select that user. For example, I can just select Samim, and then ask him to, you can also see when he logged in, how long he's logged in, and then through which console he logged in, and whether he is actually logged in with programmatic access, whether he logged into console. It says both, right? So he has logged into programmatic. Currently, MFA is not there. If I want to enable MFA, I can just go and say Samim. I can open this, and then I can go and enable MFA also here. Under the security credential, you can see that currently there is no MFA device assigned. I can also assign the MFA device. Okay, so if I manage it, there are two options. Virtual MFA is installing authenticator or any tools like Auth, Duo Mobile, LastPass Authenticator. There are hundreds of tools which can help you to do a software level authentication. Okay, so mobile app software level authentication. Okay, or mobile apps. So there are many mobile application like Athi, Duo Mobile. You have LastPass authentication. Okay, you have Microsoft Authenticator. You can use any of these tools. Okay, so all of them does the same thing. Microsoft Authenticator or Google Authenticator. There are hundreds of tools like this, and you can install that. Or else there is another option called Gemalto token, hardware MFA device. I'm not sure how many of you have seen this. There is a token called Gemalto token. When you go to office location, they will give you this token, physical token. You can press this key, and it will generate a new 6-digit or 5-digit token, and you have to enter this digit token. So when you log into any corporate network or office network, they will give this Gemalto token. So this is a hardware device. If you are using hardware MFA device, you can use the Gemalto token, or if you are using the software, you can use the virtual MFA device, the authentication application. Okay, let me assign an MFA. So there will be a QR code. Once after you install any authenticator app, you can just go and scan that app. I'll just show you how to do that. Okay, I'm using my Microsoft Authenticator, or you can use Google Authenticator or anything. Okay, let me go and scan it. Okay, I'm just opening up my Authenticator account, and I can just say personal account. It gives me two options, whether I want to scan using a code or I want to scan using my username and password. So I've scanned the code in my mobile. Now it is asking for MFA code 1. So I can just go and say MFA code 1 now. Okay, it is 228145. This is what I see in my mobile. Even if you scan that code in your mobile, you will also get the same exact code. Okay, so any authentication app you use, you'll get the same code. So now I have to enter another code. For the first time, you need to enter 2 MFA code and assign the MFA. Okay, so now I can see that it is virtually registered in. So if I need to log into the same account now using Samim, Okay, so now you will get to understand that it is having multiple factor of authentication now. See, if I just go here and sign out. Okay, this time if I log into Samim account, okay, you will see a difference here. Okay, let me copy this. See, it is asking for MFA code. So without the MFA code, I cannot able to do anything. Okay, without your mobile, you will not be able to log into AWS. So this is something you possess, you have in your mobile, you have in your hand. So software token. So username plus software token. If you add biometric, you can also add biometric. So there are a lot of additional authentication that you can do. Okay, so I'll give break for the tea. Okay, let me stop the recording.
This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so some of you are asking like where exactly you can get the account ID. See, if I go to my IAM or anywhere here, you have the account ID here. Okay, or else if I go to the home on IAM, even on the IAM home, you will see the details around this. So you'll have the account ID here. So account ID is a 12-digit ID that you have for each of your account. Okay, and then you can also set up the alias name here. So if I want to give it like AWS Western or Skill of Western, something like that, you can go and change it, and you will get a customized console for your company. Okay, in your organization, they will give the account alias with their corporate name. Okay, so here is where you do it. And if in case you want to create your own policy, for example, these are all policies where most of them are predefined policies. If you look at here, these are all customer managed, which I have created. Whereas if you look at to the right, you can see there are many default AWS managed policies. These are all predefined policies which you can use for accessing to the services. But if you want to create your own policy, you can go and create it, and where you can give the permission. So we had two things, right? Identity and access management. Creating user, creating service account, those are all identity. Whereas access management is something, the role-based access control or the policy we have. Okay, let me go and create a new policy and then show you how to give customized access. There are two ways you can do it. Okay, so you can use it the visual editor, or you can also import the managed policy here. If I go and click on import managed policy, I can take one policy as an example. Okay, from there I can go and customize it. See, most of the cases we will go with the default policy, but then in some organization they want to customize it. So maybe I'll just import it, and then you will get a visual editor here. So here you can access all the resources, all the services. But then if I want to customize it, I can just go and say, I want to give access to only specific services or specific ARN. Okay, so here you can just go and give the specific Amazon resource name. ARN stands for Amazon resource name. You can go and give specific access to specific Amazon resources, okay, using the policy wizard. Okay, ARN stands for Amazon resource name. Every resource that you create in Amazon console, it will get a resource ID. So it will be looking like this. Okay, it will start with ARN double colon, and then it will be followed by AWS, and then it will have a unique ID. Okay, this is how the Amazon resource name will look like. Okay, I can just go and give specific access to specific resources. I can also give conditions here, whether MFA is definitely needed or whether you want to restrict it from specific IP. See, for example, certain services, if you leave it open to wide range of people, then it becomes there is a possibility of easier hacking to your environment. But if you want to restrict the access to the services, or if you want to give us a specific range from a customer environment, you can give that customer range of IP, so that you can allow access to the AWS services from this IP range alone. So this is the most important and followed these two things. They have the conditions actually. So these kind of things are very, very important when you want to restrict access or restrict control to a specific set of users and specific set of people. Okay, so you should always enforce a specific range of IP and MFA, multi-factor authentication. Only if these two are working, then they can log in. Okay, so these kind of things are very, very important, and you can enforce it in your organization so that your organization access methodology or authentication methodology becomes more popular. So if I go to services here, I can go and add each and every services from the list. Okay, as of now, I've given asterisk. Asterisk means everything. If I give asterisk, it will go and give access to all the resources. Okay, so wildcard asterisk means it is giving access to all the resources. So now I'll cancel it. I can also go and choose the service from here. Okay, if I want to specifically allow access to Elastic Load Balancer, and if I want to give specifically access to specific services, and I can give specific access to each of the services. In Load Balancer, I want to give him list access or write access or modifying access. See, some people, they might be asked to only do tagging alone. Some people might be doing asked to do only reporting or listing of the status, or they want to just, I mean, L1 team will go and verify the status, whether it is online or whether there is some issue. They will be asked to only read the log and all those things. So you can give specific permission for specific people. So this is how you go and visually edit it. You can give access to specific services, specific action, and you can also limit them for specific conditions. Okay, so this way you can restrict access to a particular set of people. So policy means you are restricting access to specific services with specific actions like list, read, write, describe, and all those things. And then you are also having with certain conditions. Okay, with certain conditions means there are two conditions, right? MFA required and then source IP. So these two conditions you can enforce. So you can go and create your own policy in your organization, or you can use the default AWS defined policy. There are default, like I think 100 plus policies are there. Most of the requirement you can fulfill with the default policy, but in some cases you might also have to go and create custom policy, because in DevOps team or in different requirement, the application team might be asking for access to only specific application, specific service, or specific ARN. In such cases, you might have to go and give access to specific Amazon resources. So I'll show you something here. If I go to any services, so EC2 or any particular service, every service will have its own unique ID. That's what we call it as Amazon resource ID. See, for example, if I just expand it here. Okay, so this is EVPC. Let me just go to S3. I don't have any EC2 instance. So if I go to any services, so here I've got 3 buckets, right? I'll just go to one of them. And if I go to properties, see, it will have Amazon resource name. So you can also, it's not like you need to give permission to the entire S3 bucket. You can also restrict access to specific Amazon resource name also by giving the ID. Okay, so this is a unique ID for my S3 bucket. So if you look at here, ARN is Amazon resource name, and followed by AWS, and then the service name, then the actual resource name. So that is the Amazon resource name format. Okay, so the format is like this: ARN followed by AWS followed by service name followed by the I mean, this is the AWS service name, S3, EC2, and all those things. This is the actual resource name. Okay, this is how the ARN will look like. Okay, so using this, you can give permission to or restrict to access to a specific ARN resource also. Every resource that you create in Amazon console will have a unique ARN ID or Amazon resource name ID. Okay, now see, in some organization you might also want to have reporting, or if you want to do some analysis, auditing, like you might be part of security team where you have to go and check what kind of access each and individual has got. So there is a tool from AWS called Access Analyzer. So this will give you to understand and verify what kind of access each of the people has got. You can go and generate a report. See, some organization might ask for credential report, because a lot of people will come and go. Okay, so especially with public cloud, even public cloud can be accessed from outside of the organization also, right? So if you are still having users who has already left the organization, then you are making your account corporation less secure. See, for example, I'll show you an example in my account. See, these things, Mukesh, Arfas, these are all people who were part of my earlier batch. So they have not used anything for the last 100 days, but still their account is in my account. Like similarly, in your organization, hundreds of people will join and hundreds of people will join other companies and they will go out of the company. But if you look at here, they have not changed the password. They have not changed the key for last 500 days. So these are all something which is vulnerable, because with this credential they can log into the corporate anytime and they can unnecessarily cause trouble. So always you have to go and do an access analysis, or you have to analyze the access and then find out the audit findings, and then you have to do clean up as much number of time you want to do. Okay, if you will go to the credential report, this will give you a detailed report also. Okay, you can download the report in an Excel format. You can ask the respective department leads to verify whether these people access should have to be properly continued. The service desk team should have to deactivate the account when a particular member is leaving the organization. And if they are not doing it properly, then we have to do it manually. Okay, you can download the report so that whenever you generate a report, it will be there only for 4 hours, and then you have to go and create a separate generation report. Okay, you can also go and look at the activity. Okay, currently I don't have AWS organization. So here, whatever login I'm doing, whatever access that I'm making, everything will be tracked under the organization activity. But there is one more place where I can show you what are the different stuffs that are being handled. Okay, now let me do one thing. So generally we create users, we create group, and then we also have something called Iam Role. Okay, I'll explain that. Okay, role is something set of permissions. Okay, so what kind of permissions I need to have? Okay, for example, if my role is database administrator, I'll have access to go and modify database, RDS, Aurora, and all those things. If I am a storage administrator, I'll have access to storage, S3, Glacier, and so on. So based on your role, what kind of delegation, what kind of access I'm getting with specified permission. So this is nothing but role is delegating access with specific or defined permissions. Okay, so role is nothing but permission. So here identity and access control. So the access control is handled through authentication. Okay, sorry, authorization. So there are two things which we explained, right? Authentication and authorization. Authorization is permission, authentication is credential, username and password. So whatever we are talking about role, it is closely related to access control, authorization. Okay, what kind of access I have, what kind of permissions I have got. Okay, so this is the authorization role. Okay, with the permission, what I can do, whether I can go and modify it, whether I can go and delete it. So role is something which can be temporary in nature also, or it can be created for short-term credential. See, for example, if I want to create a server and if I want to join a server to domain, you can also go and create a role for that. Okay, even if you want to use a separate role for backup purpose, or if I want to use a role for some specific use cases, so you can go and create it. So this is mainly you can call it a service account. For example, if you want to use a service account for doing backup purposes, or if you want to use a role for creating doing a role member join to a particular domain, all those things you can do it. Okay, role is mainly to give permission. Okay, let me give one more important thing here. Okay. Also, I missed to add the notes here. Okay, with policy, I can also give some more additional information. So role is different, policy is different, user is different. So with policy, what we did, with policy, we added who can do what actions on which resources, and when he can do it, and from where they can do it, from which IP, from how they can do it, and all those things. So these are all controlled using policy. Who can log in, what they can do, which resources they can access, when they can do it, from where, which source IP they can do it, and then how they can do it. So all these things are combined together called as policy. Policy is combination of all these things. Okay, who is the user or group or service account or whatever? Okay, what is, whether they can read, modify, list, execute, okay, all these things. And the next one is which resources, okay, ARN ID, okay, whether it is a S3 bucket or a particular EC2 instance or ELB or which resource, okay, and when they can do it, from which time to which time. Okay, not every user will be allowed to log in all the time. So in some organization, if you go, they will have restriction when they can log in and when they can do changes. This is like from which IP address or which IP range and location and so on. Okay, and how is nothing but using application or using console or using third party API, or from how they are going to do it. So all these things can be controlled using policy. So in AWS, as I told you, there are inbuilt policy or inline policy which are available, and there are something like which you can go and create it, which is customer managed policy. So there are AWS default or managed policy, and then we also have custom policy also, which you can go and create it. So there are limitations, restrictions, how much size we can have, and who can create it, and then whether we can allow or deny actions and so on. Okay, let me go and show you one more thing. Just give me a second. Okay, let me reshare my screen. Just give a second. Okay, we'll talk about monitoring, logging, and notification. So these are all very, again, important things as part of your regular day-to-day operations. Okay, I'll help you understand that. Okay, let me close this. Okay, I'll share my screen again. So let's talk about, see, whenever you are working on AWS, there are a lot of activities that are happening, right? You can see that many users are logging in. Now we are starting to use AWS from API, third-party application, and all those things, right? Now, if you want to track all those user activity, or if I want to track all those API call, then we should have some tool, right? So that tool is nothing but your Cloudtrail. So trail is what? I mean, trail is like if there is a path, right? How they did it, like whether they logged in directly to the console, whether they used API to log in, like what exactly they have done. Okay, so you can just go and use this Cloudtrail. Cloudtrail is mainly for auditing, security monitoring, and operational troubleshooting. So it gives you these three benefits. Okay, you can just see this here. You can use it for governance purpose, compliance purpose, and auditing need actually. And not just this, even it can be used for security monitoring and operational troubleshooting also. Okay, so security monitoring and operational troubleshooting. So if something has changed recently, whenever you have a ticket or when you go and start troubleshooting, first you need to understand what has changed recently, why the issue has occurred now, right? And then what kind of information is getting captured in Cloudtrail. So it will capture all these things: who has logged in, what they have done, when they did it, and from where they did it. So all these things will be tracked in your Cloudtrail. So if I go to Cloudtrail, see, by default the Cloudtrail is enabled. Okay, so by default you can see that there is an event history that has got a lot of events here. Recently I can show you something here. I created a user account, right? So it is having an event for that. So you can see that I've created a user account, and this is the detail of that. You can see that I've created an account with Peter, and his user ID is this, and this is the ARN for username Peter, and I've allowed him to log into API call, and whether he has used it for requesting something. So all those details will be available in the event history. Okay, by default you can see that all the events for the 90 days, by default you don't have to pay anything for this. By default the 90 days logs are free of cost. But then if you want to have a log stored beyond that period, okay, you can go and get it stored in a centralized server or some external server, and you can continue to get access to that. Okay, so Cloudtrail is mainly to monitor and do auditing, who has logged in, and then what they did, and what actions we did, and then it gives you complete control on the analysis, and you can also do the remediation. Okay, this will help you to improve your security posture. It can help you to prove the compliance. So when I say prove the compliance, some organization will ask, like, who are the users who are logging in, whether we are tracking it, whether we are auditing it. See, if someone if you are allowing everyone to log into your office, or if they are allowing everyone to come inside your office, then you are not meeting your security compliance, right? You are not proving your compliance. So if you want to improve your security posture, you need to restrict your login, or you need to restrict who can come in and who can do changes, right? So all these consolidated activity reports from all the regions and all the account, it gets consolidated into this particular event history. This is across region, across locations. So whenever whoever is making changes, you can see here what they did, what time they did, and then who did it. Okay, from where they did it, where, what kind of resources they touched. Everything will be available here. So who, what, when, from where. So all these details are available. From which API they used, whether they are logged into the console or whether they logged into using a third-party application. Who is the identity of the user, like who did it, from where they did it. So all kind of things will be tracked here. So this will help you to go and troubleshoot. See, if you get a ticket stating that the services are not working, the very first thing you have to go and check what has happened at that time, what happened wrong at that time, so that you will get some idea on what kind of management event happened. Also, you can see a lot of data events also, whether they deleted it, whether they modified it, or whether they did some changes. So everything is getting logged here. Okay, also you have something called insight event within your Cloudtrail. If you go here, you can see that insights. So this insight will give you what are the different activities that has happened, but this is additional cost. Okay, so this is like advanced algorithm, or you can call it as artificial intelligence, AI ML kind of thing, where it will go and identify unusual behavior. For example, daily basis, if only 10 users are logging onto your account, suddenly if there are 50 users or 100 users are logging in on a particular day, it will show you or send you an alert or warning message, because it is an unusual pattern. Similarly, like if you are generally copying 10 GB of data from S3, one S3 to another account, suddenly if someone is copying 100 GB or 50 GB, that is a change in pattern. That is an unusual activity. That is an unusual pattern. So all these things will be tracked in your insights event. So there is an algorithm on the back end that will check the trend or check the pattern. And if there is a change in trend or change in pattern, automatically it will identify that unusual activity or error, and then they will send it across. See, for example, if you are daily logging into a particular region, suddenly you are logging into a different region and doing something, it is an unusual activity. So all these things are getting tracked under insights event. But for insight event, you need to pay additional charges, because like on the back end, it is going to run algorithm. It is going to have some pattern analysis or trend analysis to identify what's going wrong or what is different from yesterday, right? So the next thing is, if you ask me like whether the Cloudtrail or the account activity is chargeable, no. Like for the past 90 days, you will get it for free. So if event trail or the Cloudtrail, it is available free for past 90 days. All the events will be accumulated in the event history, or the Cloudtrail is nothing but your event history. So this is free of cost. But if you want to store the historical logs beyond that, then you need to go and get it tracked separately. Okay, so Cloudtrail is very important topic, because it is mainly used for logging purpose. So all the activities, all the account related activities in every region gets tracked here, and it is visible for last 90 days through the console. Even you can fetch this report from AWS command line also. I'll show you how to get that report. And in general, okay, most of the organization, they want to have event log or activity log for more than 90 days. In such cases, what they will do is they will go and create a separate trial, and then they will go and store it in different S3 bucket, or in a different Splunk server, or in a different location. So you can go and create a trial, and you can configure what kind of logs you want to capture, whether you want to capture all the trail or all the activities, or you want to specifically capture only the management activity or specific things. You can go and create a trial, and then from there you can go and store it in S3 bucket for future auditing or future purpose. You can monitor it. See, if I just say all management event. Okay, here if I scroll down, it is asking me where I want to store it, whether I want to store it in this S3 bucket or any existing bucket. And it is asking me whether all the log validation has to be enabled. You can also enable it. You can also do one more thing: notification, SNS notification. If you want to send it in email, or if I want to do it in what do you call email message, I can also do that. But I'll explain simple notification little later. Okay, but this is another important service which we can integrate. Monitoring also I'll explain. Okay, for now, if I want to access last 90 days, I'll get it by default. But if I want to access beyond 90 days, then you can go and create a trial, and you can store it. All this trail are chargeable. If by default this 90 days log, it is not chargeable. See, you can see the last 90 days. But then beyond 90 days, if you want to store it for auditing purpose or security requirements, then you need to pay for that additional trail. Even for the insight, if you want to get the artificial intelligence, or if the algorithm want to be run on the backend, they will be charging you more. Okay, you can create up to 5 trails in each region. Okay, there are some limits on that. Okay, you cannot go and create unlimited trail. So I'll just check this. So you can have up to maximum 5 trails in each region. Okay, there is a limit for these things. Also, you can create lifecycle management to delete the trail after 180 days, or after 90 days, or if you want to delete after a year, you can also clean up so that you don't unnecessarily keep a lot of logs. See, in different organization, different trails will be created. For example, for development team to debug the issue, they will have a separate trail. So our security team to monitor the security posture of the environment, they will have a separate trail for them. Security administrator will have separate trail. Software developers will have separate trail. IT administrator, IT auditor will have their own trail. So that is the reason you might create more than one trail. Okay, so trail is nothing but the way that what happened. So you know, right, trail is the path. Okay, so how you reach that particular destination. So here you can go and create a trail for security administrators or security team, and then for software developer to debug the issues. Also, you can create it for IT admins or operations team. Okay, so there will be multiple different trail for different aspect, different requirements, because their requirement is different. For example, security administrator, they want to understand whether all the buckets are encrypted, whether all the services are properly accessed. Similarly, a developer can go and create a trail to do some troubleshooting activities on the debugging, or if the code is not properly getting applied, or if the activity is not properly getting deployed, they will get to understand that. Okay, so Cloudtrail, it supports resource level permission also. You can also go and give permission for all the services, or also you can restrict access to specific thing. Okay, it depends on case to case on how you want to deal with that. Okay, so I already told you what kind of information is available in the event. Event will have all the requests, all the associated activity, who made the request, what services they used, what action they performed, what kind of response they received, whether they were successful in doing the activity or whether it threw the error, all those things. And some of you ask whether Cloudtrail is real time. Okay, it is real time, but there might be sometimes like 15 minutes delay, because like the event is getting generated, and it will go and store the event logs. Maybe sometimes you will not see the logs immediately. In such cases, Cloudtrail delivers events within 15 minutes. Actually, that is the guaranteed time that they have, but it might take up to 15 minutes. Sometimes the backend AWS orchestration engine or backend cloud platform might be a little busy with another account or other event logs. So it's, most of the times it should be available immediately, but sometimes it might take up to 15 minutes to deliver the event of the API call, because like you are accessing it using some third-party application, the logs has to reach it, right? So sometimes there will be some minor delay. So Cloudtrail delivers log files to Amazon S3 bucket within every 5 minutes. Okay, from the Cloudtrail to the S3 bucket, it is very fast, because it is within the control of Cloudtrail. But whereas from the API, from the application to the Cloudtrail, it might take up to 15 minutes. Okay, there are two different things. Okay, so Cloudtrail can deliver logs to S3 bucket within every 5 minutes. It does every 5 minutes. But then the logs that it receives from API third-party application, that it might take up to 15 minutes. So you can also turn on notification. You can also add additional details. Okay, so there are two type of event that you need to understand. Okay, people call it as management event. Then it is called data event. Data event means by default it will not be logged. Data events are deleting object, copying object. Those are all data event. Management event, if you want to log into a particular console, if you want to make changes to a particular, you're creating a new resource, all those things are management activities. Management activities are different, data activities are different. Okay, there are two kind of categories in your Cloudtrail. Okay, if I just go here, if I go and create a trial, you can see that difference here. See, by default it is giving me enable for all accounts. So here I'll just go to the next screen here, and then you will get to understand the difference. So here it is asking me whether I'm going to do it for, okay, let me give something test here, so that it gives me, okay. See, this is what I was talking about. There are three type of events. Primarily, the activities that you are performing on your AWS resource, those are all called management event. Whatever operations that you are doing, like logging the resource operation performed or within a resource, these are all called data events. And the insight events is anything unusual activity, like pattern, different trend, any new error that is coming up, or any new behavior, new user logging, and those are all the insight event. So the event type can be categorized into three different types. By default, Cloudtrail will monitor only management event. If you want to have data event and insight event, it will accumulate more space, so you can go and add it also. Okay, so this is another important thing that you need to be aware of. Okay, even though you mean by default a lot of things are available, sometimes in some customer environment you will see that certain activities are not being populated. The reason is you might not have enabled the data events and insight events. Okay, so by default only management events are turned on. Okay, you have to go and explicitly add data event and insight event to get additional API activity for each and every resources. Okay, there are three types of event type. Okay, you can go and enable what you want. So here, if you look at here, management event shows information about management operation performed on your account level, on our AWS account level, whether you are creating something or all these things. Okay, so this is about the Cloudtrail. Okay, so we'll also talk about Cloudwatch. But any questions on this Cloudwatch, Cloudtrail so far? Okay, let me save this. I'll also send this file shortly. Okay, so that you have a copy of it. I'll send it via email. Okay, we'll talk about the Cloudwatch, SNS, SES, these things. Okay, these are all again very important topic. Okay, so next we are going to talk about Cloudwatch. So Cloudwatch is your monitoring tool. Okay, so Cloudtrail is your logging tool or auditing tool. Cloudwatch is your centralized monitoring tool. Okay, if you want to monitor the activities happening on your environment, so they call it as observability, right? Observability is observing what is happening around you or what is happening on the resources. You are monitoring the AWS cloud resources, or you are going and looking at each of the resources. So let me say, yeah, monitoring service for AWS cloud resources and application. And by default, what we generally monitor, there are three aspects. Number one is performance. You'll go and look at the performance of the system. What is the CPU utilization, memory utilization, what kind of performance we are using, whether the performance is getting degraded or any quality degradation on the services. So all these things we'll monitor. That is performance monitoring. The next one is health monitoring, whether the service is up, whether the service is down, whether the server is running online, offline, all those things. So health status. Next one is your availability of the service. So you'll go and monitor what is the uptime, what is the SLA. So what all those insights we'll go and monitor. So all these visibility or all these things are available from your CloudWatch tool. CloudWatch provides visibility and insights for your different services. So how do we use that? Amazon CloudWatch actually it monitors everything. It collects all the metrics. When I say metrics, metrics are the CPU utilization, memory utilization, network transfer, network packets in, data transfer. All these are metrics, right? So you are collecting all those information, and these are all something which are near real time. So I'll explain few things here so that you get to understand these things in a little more details. Okay, when I say metrics, so these are all some examples, right? So first I'll compare them. Okay, so there are, when it comes to monitoring, there are four important elements. Okay, metrics, logs, events, and alarms. Okay, so these are the four important things that forms the any monitoring tool. Okay, here in AWS CloudWatch, or any third-party tool, these are the four things combined together that forms the monitoring tool. Okay, this is applicable for every different application. Okay, so metrics are what? It is real-time data. What is currently happening? So if I go to my machine and then I say task manager, I'm seeing what is happening currently. Okay, so on my machine, the CPU utilization is this much, network is getting transferred this much, so this process is consuming this much amount of CPU memory, and Google Chrome is having a lot of application running, so that I can understand what is happening in my machine near real time. So these are all called metrics. Okay, CPU utilization, memory utilization, Ethernet network packet transfer in and out. So all these are metrics. Metrics are numerical values. So if you look at here, it doesn't have anything in details. Okay, it is just giving me numbers. It is giving me what is the percentage of utilization, what kind of consumption it is, how much utilization we are doing, how many processes are currently running, how many threads are there, how many handles are there, what is the uptime. So I'm getting mostly numerical values in metrics. So these are all metrics, actually numerical values. And see, since we are dealing with numbers, the data size is very small. It is light size data because it is numerical value and so on. Data size will be very, very less. Okay, and examples are performance monitor tool or task manager or your top tool in your Linux or your network monitoring tool. So all these are giving you only numerical value. It is giving you near real-time data, currently what is happening in your system. So logs are something which has already happened. It is historical information. Okay, so something has happened. Server went down, someone stopped the service, someone already logged in, someone already copied the data. So this will be complete text-based data. Okay, you'll get complete information here. If I go to Event Viewer or if I just go to similar tools, you'll get lot of information. It will give you okay, it will give me complete information. What happened in my application? What is the description? What is the event ID? How to fix that issue? It gives me a lot of detailed log. Okay, so logs are text in nature. So it gives me too much of information. It gives me complete detailed information or analysis. What is the event ID? What happened? What is the source? What changed? All those things. So detailed information are available, and also you get the log groups here. You get the issue, description, steps, and it is heavy size. It gives you detailed information. See, if you look at here, even the information, it tells me what happened, when it happened, from where it happened, and then whether it is an information source, which computer was impacted. So all these things will be completely made available here. Okay, it is like detailed information, and it gives you complete log groups, and it needs more capacity. Storage space is additional storage space is needed. Okay, it is heavy size because of the detailed information that it is storing. It is the text information, right? So logs are different, metrics are different. Event is something has happened. Okay, some activity has completed, and it is storing the event. So first we'll talk about the metrics first. So metrics are example like CPU utilization, memory utilization, network in, network out, data disk read, and all those things. Metrics are data about the performance of the system. Okay, what is happening currently on your system, what you are monitoring, whether you are doing a network monitoring, whether there is a disk read, disk write. All these things are performance characteristics of your system. Metrics always have some namespaces. Okay, you can have multiple dimensions to it. So metrics also will have timestamp. At this point of time, the utilization was, see, you can also look at the task manager here, right? You can see that at last 60 seconds, this was the utilization. I can also go and check the previous time also. If I go to performance monitor or any other tool, it will give me time bound metrics or time based timestamps. Okay, so it will have what do you call, it will have the utilization at a particular point in time. You can also go and have more data. See, if I go to EC2 or any other services, you will understand it better. Okay, let me go to EC2. I'll show you something. So if I go to EC2, if I go to monitoring section here, I'll get a lot of information by default. Okay, I don't have any EC2. Okay, let me just quickly create a EC2. Okay, by default, when you enable monitoring, you get two options. Okay, basic monitoring and detailed monitoring. So generally, we don't enable detailed monitoring unless it is really needed. See, if you look at here, detailed CloudWatch monitoring. By default, it is not enabled. It is set to disable. But if you enable it, you have to pay additional cost. If you click on it here, you can see that enabling detailed CloudWatch monitoring will cost you additional charges, and it will give you a lot of additional metrics. Okay, when I say additional metrics, you'll have to pay for additional metrics, and then it will give you memory utilization and all those things. So by default, detailed monitoring is not turned on any of your resources, but if you want to enable it, you can enable it. Okay, I'm not going to change anything here. Okay, I'll go and create it. So this is in North Virginia, right? Okay, once after I mean created, by default it will go and monitor every 5 minutes. Basic monitoring will give you every 5 minutes monitoring. So that means like 10 detailed monitoring metrics can be utilized using the free tier. And if I go beyond that, then you have to pay additional cost. If I go for detailed monitoring, the metrics it will measure is every 1 minute. Okay, every 1 minute you will get detailed monitoring alerts or event. Okay, so custom metrics can also be added. I'll show you how to do that. So easy to detail monitoring, easy to instance metrics, have metrics every 5 minutes, but then you can go and get it for every 1 minute, but with additional cost actually. Also within free tier, you can go and configure up to 10 detailed monitoring metrics. And if you go beyond that, then you have to pay for it. Okay, so let me show you, I think the instance is launched now. So if I go here, you can have a separate section called monitoring. Okay, here you have two options. Okay, whether you want to have detailed monitoring or the basic monitoring. In basic monitoring, you will see a lot of things. You can see CPU utilization, status check, network, and all those things, but memory will not be available. So only when you enable detailed monitoring here, when you go and enable the detailed monitoring, you will get additional metrics and very quick time frame. See, as of now, the monitoring will happen for every 5 minutes, but then if you enable detailed monitoring, you'll start getting it for every 1 minute. Okay, even you can go and watch the same in Cloudwatch console also. So if I go to Cloudwatch, you have the four is essential terms like logs, events, statistics, and other things, alarms, logs, metrics, events, and so on. So here by default, we are talking about metrics first. Okay, so for accessing the metrics, you have something called Metrics Explorer within AWS. You can go and add as many number of chart you want. You can go and configure the monitoring. So here you can see, I want to monitor all the EC2 instance, or I want to monitor the EBS volumes and so on. I can just select it, and then if I want to choose specific system, I can also add the specific system here. Okay, if I want to add a specific instance ID or a specific instance name, I can go and do it. So let me select this instance. So I can get the complete detailed monitoring of all the different metrics in this console. And also I can add it into a dashboard, and I can give access to this dashboard for a particular team so that they can see what is happening on my machine, what kind of consumption it is going on, and so on. Also, you can aggregate the time series database from multiple instances also. You can see multiple systems together. For example, if you have web server, app server, and database server, they are closely related to each other. And if you want to monitor all of them in one single console or one single dashboard, you can aggregate all those servers into the Metrics Explorer here, and you can create a dashboard so that the team can monitor where exactly the bottleneck is or where exactly the issue is going on, and they can easily troubleshoot this. For metrics, you have Metrics Explorer, and for logs, we have Logs Insight. I'll come to that logs now. Okay, so logs are what? Logs are a little bit advanced or detailed information. You get detailed arbitrary name. You get the what has happened in your system. Okay, what kind of application it has impacted. So you get detailed information in the logs. Okay, so I can show you how it works. Okay, so if I go to logs here, we have something called log groups. So this can go and get all the information from different system. Okay, by default, like there is no log group created. You can also go and create a log group and collect all the logs from your system. See, when you go to Windows Server or Linux machine, you have event log, right? Also, you have a lot of logs under your /var/log, and you can configure to collect all the logs from all the systems and store it here. Sometimes like you might have to create some additional custom metrics or some additional agent to collect that, but you can go and collect the logs from EC2 or any different services. So I'll show you how to do that. Okay, maybe we'll have to install the agent on that system, and I'll show you how to collect it. Okay, so Cloudwatch is a combination of multiple different things. It has got a beautiful dashboard. You can go and add dashboard for different application, different resource requirement. Also, you can also go and create an automatic dashboard. See, for example, if I want to create a dashboard for my EC2, I can go and create a quick dashboard also. So there are some automatic dashboard which you can enable. So here I can go and filter the resource group, or I can go and look at which resources I want to monitor and so on. So it will take some time because I've just created the server. I can also go and add it for specific elastic block storage or specific CloudWatch logs. I can go and select specific volume also. See, if I want to monitor one specific volume, I can select that and understand what is the statistics, what is going on in that volume. Similarly, if I want to select if there is a slowness in the disk on the queue length or because of the average, I can also go and select specific things. I can also see little more detail. What is the snapshot associated, whether it is in use. Lot of information are available in my dashboard. So dashboard is a visualization tool where you can go and look at different things. So events are very much similar to your Cloudtrail. Okay. So here you can collect the events and you can get all the event related information. So it is very much similar to Cloudtrail, but you can also configure event bridge to collect little more additional event. Okay, the next one is alarm. Okay, alarm is very, very useful because like whenever there is a service which is having some issues or whenever there was a reboot or whenever there is a backup failure or whenever the consumption is very high, you can go and configure alarm. So alarm is to notify the team that something is actually not keeping well or something is going wrong. You can go and create alarms for any specific issues. See, if I go to create alarm option, you'll get to understand the metric here. If the CPU utilization goes beyond a specific limit or if the number of connections goes beyond a particular thing, I can go and configure that. So just for, I'll show you a couple of example. I'll go and configure this particular metric. I'll say if my, let me filter by a specific machine. See, for this machine, if the number of network packet or if the CPU utilization is very high, okay, I can create an alarm. I can select this metric, and in this metric I can just go and say if my average utilization for a period of 5 minutes is going beyond this particular percentage, okay, if the statistics is get back greater than 10% or 20%, it will throw an alarm. Okay, you can just go and configure greater than or equal to or lower than, and you can create a new topic. Okay, so when the utilization is beyond that percentage, it will automatically go and add additional instance, or you can also add go and reboot the server, or you can also send a notification to a particular email address, or you can also send a notification to a particular mobile number, and so on. So alarm is mainly to notify the support team if something is not going as per the plan or if something is not right. Okay, so CloudWatch is a beautiful monitoring tool where you can go and create dashboards, you can go and look at the logs, you can look at the events, you can look at configure alarms, all those things. So CloudWatch, by default you get only basic monitoring. You can go and enable detailed monitoring if you want, and you'll get a lot of additional detailed input. Okay, so these two services are very, very important, CloudWatch and Cloudtrail. And the next one is the SNS topic. Okay, simple notification service. So this is a tool for mainly notifying a particular support team or a particular you can get notification either via mobile message or the email, or you can also get it in a pager. This is mainly to send alerts based on an event. Okay, if there is something not going wrong, you can also go and publish. This is a, they call it as publish subscriber service. Okay, SNS they call it as notification, or they call it as publish subscriber service. I'll just copy this somewhere. I had some data. Okay, here it is. Okay, simple notification service. Not this. Okay, anyways, I'll just start typing it. So this is not SMS, it is SNS. Okay, simple notification service. So the notification can happen via mobile message, or it can happen via email, or some pager, or it can be a SMS. So it is a push message service. They call it as subscriber or push messaging service. This is very, very fast. Okay, and it is very, very reliable and flexible also. Okay, you can go and configure alert based on a particular event. This is mainly to send alerts based on a particular alarm or a particular event. Okay, and you can send it in a SMS or email or HTTP webhook, or a lot of options are there. Okay, so for that you have to go and create a topic, and then you have to go and subscribe for the topic. So if you're interested in receiving a notification when the CPU is high or when the memory is high, you can go and start receiving the notification because of a event or a particular alarm or a notification. Okay, so simple notification service is different. And if you are only want email alone, if I want to receive only email alerts from SMTP server, you can go and configure SES. SES is simple email service. Okay, notification is based on an event. If there is something which is going wrong, I can go and receive the notification. But this is mainly an SMTP service, simple mail transfer service. Okay, where you can go and see, for example, if I want to send a broadcast of information to online retailers that new product is available, or for example, Amazon is sending you that there is a big billion, say a big billion day event is going to happen, and they want to send it to all the people, and they want to notify hundreds of people together, right? For digital marketing, for online retail services. Okay, you can use the simple email services. Okay, this is for application development, digital marketing. So you can use it for many different use cases, but mainly this is email as a service, SMTP as a service. You don't have to go and set up any server, or you don't have to go and purchase any product from any third party, and no licenses needed. You can go and do maximum deliverability with minimal setup. You don't have to do any setup and all. Okay, it is minimal setup and maximum deliverability, meaning you can just send it for millions of people or millions of mailboxes at the same time. And even if you're a third party company, a new startup, you can use this SES. And the importance of SES, when there is an email that is coming from Amazon SES, the chances of blacklisting or blacklisting is very, very less, because Amazon as a company, they have a very good reputation. And if the email is coming from Amazon SES topic, there won't be a lot of blocklisting or blacklisting. So all the special offers, transaction emails, order confirmation, newsletter, all these things, all these marketing events, you can use the SES to send a lot of advertisements. Okay, so this is pay as per use service. So it is based on the number of emails you are sending and receiving. So in free tier, you can send up to 62,000 emails in a month at no charge. And if the size of the email is heavier than 10 MB, then even based on the size, you will have charges. So you can send maximum of 50 participants or recipients without cost. But if you are sending beyond that, then you will have to pay for it. Okay, and on the very first day, I talked about SQS, okay, simple queuing service. So when you want to connect two different distributed application, and if you want to integrate application to application, then you go and integrate it using queuing service, because none of the application will have a inbuilt message queue. And this is mainly for simple queue service, SQS. So many people get confused with this three different product services. So simple notification is for notifying based on an event or based on an alarm or such cases. There will be a notification. Email services are mainly for digital marketing or sending someone broadcast traffic or for such purposes using SMTP email. Simple queue service is a message queuing service. You want to send messages from one application to another application, and it is mainly used as a middleware. Okay, if you are building one application and you want to integrate it with third party application, so SQS will take care of sending and receiving the communication from one application to another application. And it allows you to build application without concerning about how the communication is stored, how the communication is handled. So unlimited messages can be done, unlimited queue size can be done. There is no throughput limitation. So messages message is a payload for SQS. And if you are sending it to a destination, it will always guarantee that it will at least deliver it once. For example, if the receiving application is down for some time, there won't be any challenge at all. So, okay, so the SQS service will always try for at least once delivery. So it will retry until the application is receiving it. So any unsuccessful messages, it has something called dead letter queue. It will move on to the dead letter queue and handle it. So there are many algorithms within SQS, like for example, first in, first out, last in, first out, at least once ordering, best effort ordering, all those things. So for example, if you are in a online, for example, let's take pizza ordering. If you are doing different acceptance, like the latest order will be coming to the first, right? So you should have, I mean, different application needs different algorithm. If you want to follow first in, first out concept, then every order will be processed in a particular way, and then it will be delivered. So FIFO algorithm, LIFO algorithm will be used for different applications. So based on the application, you can go and configure the algorithm, and you can go also configure the timeout. Okay, so SQS is pretty straightforward. It is a message oriented service. It is going to keep all the logs, messages as a kind of message in the queue, and you can also accept multiple reader, multiple writer to a single queue, so that many application can use the same queue at the same time. Okay, so these services are very important to know. Okay, Cloudtrail, Cloudwatch, SNS, SES, SQS. These are all services related to monitoring, alerting, and notification. So many people will be asking questions on this, so you can try to get better on this. I'll upload the session in the recording, in the YouTube channel list. You can go through the IAM again, and then practice the IAM part. IAM is very, very important for you all, because you are going to deal with biometric and so on. Okay, I'll stop the recording, and you can